Okay, I watched that video that real good looking guy put on the YouTube. He said something about hold the pick, kind of like this, and wiggle it, and repressive muting. It kind of rubbed my hand like this on the strings. The other hand is all full and not full and empty and stuff. I guess that's probably about it. Well, let's just see what it sounds like here. Oh no, that still really sucks.
My last lesson video. This is why you suck at guitar 4, your sweep picking sucks. And in that video you learned all the essentials, all the fundamentals of the technique. We talked a lot about how to hold the pick, you know, what that guy's doing across the strings, the whole progressive palm muting idea. We even covered the fret hand stuff and that full and empty concept. You got all the essentials down, but it's not enough. If you don't know how to practice that stuff and implement it into your playing, then all that vital information I gave you last time is going to end up as useless as your mom's liberal arts degree. I'm free to make that joke because I also have an art degree that I totally don't use. Look at these shit-ass paintings. You think I learned anything? So today you're going to spend some time here with old Uncle Ben, and I'm going to show you how to put into practice all that vital information I dumped on you there last time and turn your sweep picking into something pretty legitimate. If you follow these steps, you could turn out to be the next Francis Bubbletrousers. So let's dig right in here and talk about how to practice some of those sweep picking essentials. Your sister was asking me last night about how she can practice the progressive palm muting idea, which is really, really important. I mentioned that last time. The whole idea is that, you know, whatever string you're playing, like let's say you're playing the D string, all the strings above it, meaning our A and E strings, are going to be lightly palm muted back here by the picking hand. Just a little skin on the string is all it takes. It doesn't have to be any specific part. It doesn't have to be the side or the inside of the palm. It doesn't really matter. The point is you have skin touching those strings, muting them out. If you're playing a 7 or an 8 string guitar where you got some extra strings on top, you know, you'll end up using some of the inside of your forearm too, just because there's so many strings to cover. You know, you can't really fit all that right here. So you end up using some of your forearm skin on those too. Like I said, the point is, whatever string you're playing, mute the strings above it. Here's an easy way to check and see if your progressive palm muting is going well. Just take the fretting hand out of the equation entirely. We'll not even be fretting any notes with this. Here's what I want you to do. We're going to use all 6 of our strings here. Start off, just pick your low E string open. Now move on and pick your A string and see if you're now muting your low E. You have that low E sounds dead now? Move on and pick your D and check and see if your palm is now covering A and E. They should just sound muted like that. Move on to the G. See if your top 3 strings are muted now. D, A, E. Notice that the note that I'm picking is not palm muted. The ones above it are. Really important. B string, our G, D, A, and E should all be palm muted. And lastly, the high E string, you're going to check your top 5 strings here. Just as long as they're a little dampened, that's really all that you need. Like I said, that's one of the best ways that you can practice and check the status of your progressive palm muting and see if that's going well for you. So try that out. It sounds pretty nasty, but whatever, it works. So another aspect of sweep picking I got asked a lot of questions about is how you can practice with the fretting hand to keep your notes from overlapping or having big gaps between them. In a well-executed sweep, those notes are so close together that you couldn't even fit a piece of paper between them, you know? Think about that time when you and your cousin were sitting around the campfire last year. It was a little weird for everybody. But anyway, how you can practice this stuff is to take the picking hand entirely out of the equation and work on just the fretting hand. Now, for this particular exercise, you could take a hairband or whatever and put it around the strings. I'm just going to use my picking hand here. I'm just lightly touching the strings, muting them out. That way there's no open string ringing, okay? Take an arpeggio of your choice, or maybe even one of the exercises that I'm going to show you later on in this video, and practice this. I'm just going to use this A minor arpeggio. Fret 10 on the D, fret 9 on the G, fret 10 on the B, fret 8 on the high E, and fret 12 on the high E. But what I'm going to do is to practice this exclusively using hammer-ons. I'm not going to pick anything. I'm just hammering on the 10th D. Then I got to smack down on that 9th G. Smack down on that 10th B, 8th IE, 12th E. What you're listening for is that there's no overlap in between the notes. Because even if it is just for a second, it's going to sound bad in the long run, you know? You got to practice that filling and emptying technique we talked about. Make sure only one finger at a time is full, in other words. Like right now on the first note, my middle finger is full. When I change notes, it's going to change to just my index finger being full of energy. See how the middle finger just relaxed, full, and now it's empty. Next note here, I'm going to change to my middle finger again, empty out my pointer finger. Notice it didn't yank away, it just went from being full to empty. Changing again, changing again. One of the best ways you can practice that to check and see if this hand is doing its job well and if you're doing a good job of filling and emptying everything as you go. Yeah, one of the absolute hardest techniques to master when it comes to sweeping is doing rolls with the fretting hand. With a roll, you know, you're playing multiple strings on the same fret using the same finger. It's kind of sort of like doing a bar, only instead of just smashing across all of them, you're going to progressively kind of roll through the different parts of your finger, you know? In this last knuckle of your finger, you really have three fretting surfaces. You have the tip, you have the underside, and you have the knuckle, you know, right there on the joint, basically. Those are three different surfaces that you can use just within this range of your fingertip to fret all those notes. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm playing an A minor arpeggio again here. I've got 5th G, 5th B, 5th high E. Now, whenever I play the G string note, you can see the fingertip is on the string. Try to give you a good angle here. Whenever I go to the B, I'm going to kind of flatten my finger out a little bit. And then when I go to the high E, I'm going to jam that knuckle into the high E string. Just like that. Tip, middle, knuckle. They are very small movements. Like I said, you can watch as my finger will wiggle through that there, and it barely is doing anything. That's why it's really important to practice this stuff slow. If you try to do this fast at first, your finger is just going to be doing this deal. It's no good. You know you're doing this right if it feels like your finger is doing the worm. You know, that's the way that I think about this. That dance that you do where you like lay down helps if you're just totally smash drunk and you kind of roll your body around like that. It feels like my finger is doing that whenever I do a roll correctly. Another great thing about this is if you're doing it right, your finger basically mutes every string as you go. Check it out. Tip on the G. I'm going to transfer to the middle of the finger on the B. Now, whenever I've done this, my G is now muted out and my high E is now muted out. When I transfer to the knuckle, the tip of my finger is still very slightly touching the G, muting it. The middle of my finger is very slightly muting the B. Meanwhile, the knuckle is fretting the high E. I suggest practicing these really slowly with all fingers. You know, you'll be using different finger rolls and stuff like that for different arpeggios, especially a lot of those like minor ones will have you doing a roll with the ring finger, which gives a lot of people trouble. So be sure to practice those really slowly like that. 3 is pretty much the maximum you're ever going to have to do in any normal sweep pattern. So practice on 3 strings like that, real slow. Tip, middle, knuckle, middle. Tip, middle, knuckle, middle. And meow, we're going to talk about some good practicing habits and exercises to turn you from punk to hunk. First things first, don't get an art degree from a community college. You really get what you pay for, kids. Next, go out and get yourself a metronome. This is the absolute most important tool you can ever use to help yourself achieve great speed and precision with your guitar playing and actually make some progress. This is a little Korg metronome that I got a few years ago. It's fantastic. But if you don't have money to go spend on a metronome and you're broke as a joke like a lot of guitar players tend to be, don't worry about it. You can download one for free onto your computer or your smartphone or whatever. I use an iPhone here, and I found one that's totally free in the App Store called Silver Dial, Silverdial, Silver Dial. It is totally fantastic. It's totally free, and I always have it with me because I always have my phone on me. So definitely go out and get yourself a metronome. That's going to be super important for helping you increase your speed. Let's take a look at how to use that to make the most out of your time. What you've got to understand about increasing your speed with your guitar playing is that it's done in very, very small steps, and that's exactly what a metronome lets us do. It lets us find a tempo to start off with that we're totally in control and very comfortable playing, and gradually bring the tempo up bit by bit, little by little. That way you're not just making huge gaps from practicing something slowly to practicing something fast. You've got the full range of speeds in between that you work your way up with. Practicing without a metronome is a lot like driving a car that doesn't have a speedometer. You never really know exactly how fast you're going. You don't know how much you're speeding up or slowing down. You're just not really sure about it. A metronome is like a speedometer for our guitar playing. It lets us see exactly where we are and lets us increase that speed bit by bit. That's super important. So let's take a look at how to practice all these exercises we're fixing to learn with our metronome, okay? Super important to understand the basic principles here. Pull up our metronome. First things first, start off extremely slowly. You never want to start off at a speed where you're barely in control or you're just hanging on by the skin of your teeth. You want to start off at a speed that whatever you're practicing is totally effortless. You know, everything there was totally relaxed. I didn't have any tension in my hands or anything like that. All the notes came out perfectly. It's slow enough that I can concentrate on what I'm doing. I can concentrate on every note I'm playing as I'm playing it. You know, if you start off at a real high tempo, you're thinking about the next note while you're playing the current note, you know. Don't get ahead of yourself. This is a problem that a lot of more advanced guitar players have. If somebody's been playing the guitar for, 5 or 10 years and, their uncle is Francis Bubbletrousers or whatever, they kind of feel this sense of entitlement where it's like, well, I should be able to start off cranking this thing up and going really fast. Don't do that, man. You're going to cheat yourself out of all the control that you'll gain by starting off slowly and gradually increasing the tempo. Here's what I mean. Start off in your control zone, man. Start off at a tempo that you're completely comfortable with. You're not even trying, okay? Start slowly. This will be different for every player. I've got this set to 80 right now, but there is no magical number. Maybe you're more comfortable starting off at 100 or 120, whatever, that's cool, as long as you're relaxed. Maybe you need to back it down a little bit and start at 60 or 80. I've been there too. Don't worry about it. There is no magic number. Start off wherever you're totally comfortable. Practice whatever it is you're working on. I'll show you some exercises here in a second. Making sure every note comes out loud and clear and that you're totally in control of what you're doing. Do that for a few minutes, and after you've totally mastered that, bump it up a little. I'm talking about like maybe 2 BPM, Went from 80 to 82. See what that feels like. It feels totally the same. That's the thing about it. The difference between 80 and 82, your hands and your mind can't even really detect it. That's super, super critical for increasing your speed. You got to go in very small increments. That's the cool thing, though, is you keep going up and up and up in these really small increments, and before you know it, you're playing really fast. Spend several minutes at each tempo. Only advance the tempo after you've totally mastered it and can play it effortlessly, perfectly, and totally relaxed. Think about that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And now for the exercise portion of our evening together here. The theme is going to be start small. Whenever I first started learning how to sweep pick about a year ago when I was 16, I wasted a lot of time by trying to learn big like 6-string, 5-string sweep patterns that use like half of the neck and stuff. That was a total waste of my time. I couldn't even sweep on 2 strings. Why should I be able to do 6, Start small, work your way upwards. Think about this in sports terms. I'm not much of a sports guy, but I bet you if I had, Kobe Jordan or one of those guys sitting right here, he'd tell you that before he slam dunked his first touchdown, he'd probably learn how to dribble the puck a little bit. Work in small steps. we're going to start off with a little 2-string exercise I came up with here to help me out with this. Get our metronome clicking. Check this out. I'm using 2 strings, my B string and my E string, but you could apply this to any 2 sets of strings, and I would encourage you to do that. I'm going to play it slow for you here. Just like that. The idea here is I'm really working out the sweeping technique with this hand, because one of the hardest aspects of sweep picking is changing directions. After you've been going down for a while, it's kind of hard to stop. Just ask your mom. So it's really hard to turn around and go back to using upstrokes like this. Whenever you're doing 2-string sweeps, you're basically doing nothing but turning around. I mean, as soon as you're done going down, down, it's time to go up, up too. Down, down, up, down, down, up, up. And if you're practicing that with a metronome, you're going to get your good rhythm going on. Here's how I play it. You could play this on any 2 sets of strings, any set of frets, but we're going to be starting off on the B and the E string. It's really simple. It's not very musical sounding, but we're working on technique right now, so whatever. 5th fret B, pointer finger. 6th fret E, middle finger. 5th fret E, pointer finger. 6th fret B, middle finger. So you can see I just picked this little, these little shape, as I was saying, and go 5, 6, and invert it. 5, 6. Down, down, up, up. Move on and do the same thing, but with your ring finger on fret 7. 5, 7, 5, 7. Then you're going to do 5, 8, 5, 8. And then work your way back down. 5, 7, 5, 7. Let me put it this way again here. 5 on the B, 6 on the E. 5 on the E, 6 on the B. Next, 5 on the B, 7 on the E. 5 on the E, 7 on the B. 5 on the B, 8 on the E. 5 on the E, 8 on the B. And then backwards. 5 on the B, 7 on the E. 5 on the E, 7 on the B. Basically it. Practices with all different fingering combinations too. Don't always rely on starting off with your pointer finger. That guy's the best player you got on your team, so it's important to put some of these 2nd string guys in too. Try this out. Instead of going 5 and 6 with these 2, use these 2 instead. 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 6, 5, 6. So again, you're using a different set of fingers, your non-dominant ones. Switch to these 2. 5, 6, 5, 6. This is also a great way to test if you're doing a good job of emptying every finger. Because if you're playing like this, and your pointer finger is like spazzing out, you know you've got some tension buried in there somewhere, and you need to concentrate on just using the fingers that you're using at a time. Really important. Start off small. Only after you master 2 strings should you move on to 3 string, which is where we're going next. Scope it out. So after you've totally mastered the 2-string arpeggio exercise, move on to this 3-string one. It might take you 5 minutes to master the 2-string thing. It might take you 5 weeks. You just really have to listen to your playing very critically and be very honest with yourself, and really ask yourself if everything you're doing sounds perfect and if you're totally relaxed and in control. If you answered yes to both of those, it's time to move on to 3 strings. We're building this up 1 string at a time here. Here's my 3-string exercise. It's kind of similar to the last one. I'm using 3 strings, my G, B, and E. Although you could use any 3 strings really. I'm playing frets 5, 6, and 7 here. Check it out. Downstroke 5 on the G. Downstroke 6 on the B. Downstroke 7 on the high E. Reverse that shape. Upstroke 5 on the E. Upstroke 6 on the B. Upstroke 7 on the G. Sounds like this with a metronome here. Down, 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 up, up, up. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. G, B, E, B, B, G. You get the idea. Start slow, work that up with your speed. After you've mastered those 3 fingers, move on and do these 3 now. Leave your pointer finger totally out of the equation. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. See, that's a little harder. I've got a little bleed over there. There we go. Those fingers don't cooperate with us near as much as these 3 do. If you find that difficult, that just means you should be working on it. Don't run away from it because it's tough. You'll never get any better that way. You got to find what totally kicks your ass and concentrate on that. That's what you need to be working on. So again, you can do that combination, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, any set of strings, any set of frets, whatever. That's a great one to work on getting some more strings going on. After you've mastered that, we'll move on to 4. Let's check this out. So now that you're ready to handle some 4-string arpeggios, I'd like to show you this really brilliant exercise I picked up from John Petrucci's amazing book, Rock Discipline. John Petrucci is, of course, the guitar player for the band Dream Theater. Fantastic guitar player. I don't care if you like Dream Theater or not. You should definitely go buy his book, Rock Discipline, if you're serious about improving your guitar playing. He really thoroughly outlines every way to practice basically everything imaginable. It's a really fantastic book. Here's one I picked up from there that really improved my sweep picking. It's kind of what all these other exercises have been based off of. It's just bigger. Okay, 4 strings, D, G, B, E. Although it could be E, A, D, G, whatever. We're starting on the top 4. 5 on the D string with a downstroke. 6 on the G string with a downstroke. 7 on the B string, downstroke. 8 on the high E, downstroke. So we just did 5, 6, 7, 8. Index, middle, ring, pinky, D, G, B, E, down, 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 down. You get the idea. 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you're going to invert all of that. So I go up on the 5th E, up on the 6th B, up on the 7th G, up on the 8th D. Down, 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 up, 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 up. Let's get a little click on that. Like I said, always practice with that metronome. Filling and emptying every finger as you go. Notice my fingers aren't spazzing out. After a finger has played its note, it just relaxes. And now moving on to 5 strings. This gets a little awkward because we have 5 strings we're going to do. We only have 4 fingers over here, so that makes it a little awkward, but check this out. A string, D string, D string, B string, high E string. 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, I'm out of fingers now. So just swap one in here, like maybe your ring finger. Index, middle, ring, little, ring. Then just reverse that pattern. Index, middle, ring, little, ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get a click on it. We're going 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. You get the idea. And of course, down, 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 up, 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 up. And lastly, the final boss battle, the dreaded 6-string sweep. Now this is really going to test your progressive palm muting because you're starting off not palm muting anything since we're starting off on the E. And then with every string we're going to go down, we're going to cover up more and more of the strings, only letting the string that we're playing at that time be audible. The rest are all going to be palm muted back here. This works out pretty well because since we have 6 strings and we have 4 fingers, we can kind of use those even numbers to our advantage. And we're going to go index, middle, ring, little, ring, middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it ends up being played out like this. 5 on the E, 6 on the A, 7 on the D, 8 on the G, and then again go back to ring, 7 on the B, middle finger, 6 on the high E. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6. So again, we just went forwards and backwards through our fingers. Index, middle, ring, little, ring, middle. And then go backwards. Index, middle, ring, little, ring, middle. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6. 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6. Index, middle, ring, little, ring, middle. Index, middle, ring, little, ring, middle. Get some click going on here. One last cool, quick sweep picking exercise. Some of the coolest arpeggios are ones that kind of double back on themselves. So here's a way to practice that kind of idea. We're going to use a 3-string pattern like what we did for our 3-string arpeggio exercise, okay? I'm going to start off on the low E string here, fret 5. Then I play the A fret 6, D fret 7. Then I'm going to just basically move every finger down a string. So 5A, 6D, 7G, drop down again, 5 on the D, 6 on the G, 7 on the B, drop it down again. 5 on the G, 6 on the B, 7 on the high E. Picking wise, I'm going down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So the last note of every one of those three note groups is going to be an upstroke. That way your pick ends up above the next bass note. There it is. Backwards, reverse everything. 5, 6, 7, starting on the E. 5, 6, 7, starting on the B. 5, 6, 7, starting on the G. 5, 6, 7, starting on the D string. And again, picking wise, it's the opposite. Up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down. Try different fingering combinations. Use these three instead. You even do different stuff like index, middle, little. Might even find some stuff in there that just kind of sounds cool to use in riffs or whatever anyway. So just try different fingering patterns out like that. That's a great way to get used to turning your pick around in the middle of an arpeggio instead of just at the end of it. Woo, that was exhausting. That's what your mother refers to as a half hour of power. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that helps you clean up those nasty sweeps and start sounding like a real hunk. If you keep this stuff up and practice a little bit with your metronome every day, you're going to sound like the next Francis Bubbletrousers in no time, so keep it up. After I really scaled it back and started doing some small 2- and 3-string sweeps and practicing with my metronome all the time, that's when I really started to see some improvement. So keep it up, you'll get something out of it. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Ben Eller Guitars, and hit me up sometime, let me know what else you want to see some lessons about. Let me know what you suck at. I'm going to tell you how come you do. Thanks again so much for watching. Happy shredding. Good luck.